This car I'm driving today, the Bentley Turbo R is one of the most appreciated luxury performance cars of all time. If you want street cred today, right now, the Bentley Turbo R arguably has more of that than it ever did in the 1980s and 90s. Right now in 2023, most luxury cars are about to go hybrid, if not hybrid, all the way to EV, like the new Rolls-Royce Spectre, but not the Turbo R, not the Turbo R. Under the hood, they stuffed a 6 3/4 liter single turbo V8 under the hood, just an ancient engine. And you know what this was? This was a giant middle finger to the emissions crisis of the 1970s. And there are little whispers of this kind of like rebellious nature hidden everywhere. 1985 was the very first year of the Bentley Turbo R, but we had to wait another 4 years. We had to hold our breath here in North America for 4 years while Bentley and Rolls-Royce quietly worked their magic to somehow skirt around the strict emissions laws. What we ended up with was one of the torquiest production vehicles of the time, and a car that's pretty easily forgotten about. Power and torque, what are we talking about here? Now, this Turbo R is all about feel. That's undeniable. Bentley never actually quoted a horsepower number from the factory. They just kind of alluded to the fact that it would be adequate. We already knew it was better than the Mulsanne Turbo, but this had a little bit more of that punch to it, a little bit of a tsunami of torque. A lot of people guess it was somewhere around, safe to say, somewhere around 300 horsepower and around 450 pound-feet of torque. I think the consensus kind of is somewhere between 400 and 500 pound-feet. Now, 2,500 RPM, just under 7 liters, and we punch it, we just get a nice wafting torque that doesn't upset the car. There's no dive, no real pitch or dive until we get into the brakes. Definitely by no means a fuel-efficient vehicle, but also weighing, because of that huge Garrett turbo under the hood, which we'll get to in a little bit, weighing a lot, weighing about 5,400 pounds. It's not like fast. I'm not feeling that this car is a very quick car, especially by today's standards. It feels somewhere around 300 wheel horsepower in a smaller Japanese car, but just for the sake of being scientific, let's do a quick 0 to 60 run here. This one I'm driving today has the 3-speed, not the later 4-speed. This is right on the cusp of that. Let's just mat it and see what happens. Not much. 3,000 RPM and full boost. Crisp shift into second. Not too jarring. Wow, see, I didn't actually realize how quickly we're going. That's a sign of a good luxury car. How does it drive? It's a boat. It's a boat, you guys. This is a luxury car. It does still have the self-leveling suspension, which, yes, kind of ahead of the game for the time being. But it's still got enough of like good driver feedback because of the huge sidewalls here, 15-inch wheels. You can enter a corner, you can feel the understeer, which is good. You can also get oversteer, as I demonstrated a little bit. You know, it's still a one-tire fire back there. It feels like one of those moments where you're in the waves, you go swimming in the ocean, and at a certain point you realize that you're no longer in control of where you are or where you're going to be at any moment. The wave just kind of chucks you to one side, chucks you to another side, and you're just kind of along for the ride. That's kind of what the Turbo R feels like. It rewards very smooth inputs, smooth inputs and you're going to get, hopefully, smooth outputs. Just a subtle growl all the way up to 4,500. Wow. Wow. Lazy turbo, big old Garrett, journal bearing turbo, very lazy. And the torque and power, they're both actually, surprisingly enough, it feels like they're very far up the power band. Now that's not to say I can actually feel the turbo spool up or hear it. It's more of a performance car than I would have ever expected, let me put it that way. So of course the Mulsanne Turbo came around in the 1980s, but what that car did, its biggest mistake, was it never upgraded the handling of the vehicle. It was simply a power upgrade, which is great on the freeway, but as far as Bentley goes, this is the car that marked kind of the new era, a return to an actual driver's car. Rolls-Royce began then separating and continued to be a car where maybe you would want to be in the back seat more often versus this Bentley was stiffened up and everything. So this versus the Mulsanne Turbo, it's fuel injected, whereas the Mulsanne Turbo was still carbureted. Now, this engine is ancient. Think of this. So two of the longest running production engines in the world, the Chevy small block and this. So this engine in its various iterations and upgrades went from 1959 to 2020. And up until 2020, single cam and 2 valves per cylinder. I mean, it is effectively like, I mean, people like to make fun of American V8s for being pushrod single cam V8s, some of them, but this Bentley is exactly that. So you really got to spool up that turbo. As you guys can see, if we come over here, the big old Garrett turbo here, just, it's honestly placed in a very funky kind of position here. And the reason they did that was because, of course, there wasn't enough room for 2 turbos. All right, let's get back on the road. And one of the biggest competitors at the time, the S-Class, the S500, S600, coupes, the sedans, both had either a V8 or a 6-liter naturally aspirated V12. Guess what? Dual overhead cam. So just to put the engineering in perspective, here in the Turbo R, we got much bigger anti-roll bars front and rear. We got wider tires. This one's sitting on 255s in the rear. And then of course, we've got other stiffened up portions of the chassis. There's a rod that basically connects the rest of the car to the rear subframe in order to reduce body roll. Still a ton of body roll. And of course the dampers were tuned up a little bit, were stiffened up a little bit. What that effectively did was create this kind of, this return of the Bentley that they knew, the prospective buyers of these cars knew back in the day, that won Le Mans many times pre-war. But this did mark the return of the performance Bentley. This was meant, like where I'm sitting right now is where I was meant to be sitting. Forget the tray tables in the back, which we all know what those are for. This is the seat that I'm supposed to be in here. The Turbo R had a tack, whereas some of the other Bentleys, the bottom of the lineup at the time, the Bentley 8, which looks effectively identical to this other than the badges, did not have a tack. Giving you warning before that 4,500 RPM red line was about to hit, now that's privilege. Tell Bentley she's peaked, and what you get is the Turbo R. The most prominent reminder of a rich history is that Le Mans style start right there. And you thought Stuttgart had the exclusive on that one. God, that smell though. Old wood and creaking leather everywhere. I honestly haven't decided if its potency adds to the exclusivity or not, but the stench of old money has not gone anywhere. There's a brilliant mix of gauges and options to provide you ample opportunity for moral superiority on the road. 2 horns for jaywalkers, depending of course if they have a walker or not. And you'll need to set 2 temperatures, upper and lower. One to cool your hot head when the turbo spools, and the other to cure your cold feet when duty calls. Dumb jokes aside, okay? There's a mix of light and heavy here. This one's got no airbags and the 3-spoke wheel, a night and day difference from the later 4-spoke. Steering's light, but actually kind of accurate and alive at the same time. The seats are stiff and the door's heavy, though nothing is quite as expected. Incredibly responsive. The gas pedal on here, of course, is floor hinged, quite like a lot of other British and German cars of the time. It's quite dainty though. This is the thing, that this car contains a lot of juxtaposition in it. It's a robust, growling V8. When I rev the car in the morning, the whole chassis will twist and flex just like an American drag car, an American V8. But other things like the gas pedals, very skinny, very dainty. The shifter column here is kind of stuck between the 80s and 90s, between like kind of an analog and a digital era. It's very, very easy to use. Everything is incredibly light. It feels like a mix between the 60s and 70s. This is considered the last Rolls-Royce Bentley successful collaboration without any German influence.
It's gonna take everything you put in it.
You think it's gonna do? No, it's not gonna do another 50. There's no way.
100%.
If it does, dude, this is the least fuel efficient vehicle I've ever driven in my life.
It's taking 50 for sure. It's taking 100.
No, it's gonna stop. No.
No, you better keep this argument in there. It's gonna keep going.
I put a max of 50 on.
Yeah, it's gonna stop at 50.
No, there we go.
Are you serious?
Yeah, 18 liters.
Are you serious?
Yes. That's it.
Oh my goodness.
That's it. 37 plus 50. We've spent $77 in fuel, and we've been out for a couple hours. Yeah, cheap to buy, not cheap to drive or maintain. So, talk to Tyler Hoover about that one. Now, this car new was priced right around $200,000 USD. Adjusted for inflation, just over $400,000 USD. That's insanity. That's so crazy. Now, the average price, if you're looking to get a Bentley Turbo R, you can find them somewhere between $15,000 and $30,000. $15,000 for a kind of higher mileage example, maybe some cracks on the dash. There are a couple cracks in the wood here, minor things. Recently, Haggerty UK included this on their list of bull market cars for the year 2023, of cars that kind of are expected to, at the very least, hold very strong value, if not go up in value and enter that real collector market, which I could potentially see happening. Great driving experience. I wasn't expecting much, you guys. I was not expecting a whole lot from the Turbo R. This specific model is actually for sale, so if you happen to want a Turbo R, I do get quite a few messages actually on my Instagram, you know, week in, week out, of people being like, hey Marcus, do you know of this specific car? Do you know anybody selling this car? I'm looking to buy, I'm looking to sell. People are trading cars. It's fun, you know, variety is the spice of life. Oh my God, did I just say that? It's good to drive a plethora of vehicles. That was no better. So if you're interested, if you want to buy the car, or if you're interested, shoot me a message. Maybe we can make it happen. Subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you very soon.